Ever felt like you've become background noise in your own life? Not just background noise, but that old armchair in the corner. It's there, taking up space. But nobody notices it until they need to toss something on it. You're useful, familiar, always in the same place. So predictable that no one even pauses to look anymore. You're functional. You bring in the paycheck. You fix the faucet. But if you were removed, they'd just put another chair in your place. And soon nobody would even remember the difference. This is not a dramatic metaphor. This is a chilling realization, and it's the reality for the vast majority of men. They turn into a household appliance. Reliable, predictable, and completely uninteresting. Present but invisible. Needed but not valued. Seen but not felt. He's still sitting next to her, but she's already looking right through him, mentally scrolling through her phone because the phone is more interesting. The phone has novelty. The phone has unpredictability. The phone has emotional stimulation. He used to have those things. He used to be the unpredictable adventure, the spark, the risk, the energy. Now he is background comfort, emotional wallpaper. Today I'm giving you the verbal lockpicks. The access codes that hack this matrix and instantly flip the game board. Not in months. Not through therapy. Not through negotiations. Instantly. But there's a catch. These phrases are pure poison to the female ego. So potent that 9 out of 10 men won't dare use them. They simply don't have the guts. And that is precisely why they are doomed to remain that armchair for the rest of their days. The drama plays out according to the same script. A man starts a relationship as a predator with his own goals, his own social circle, his own territory. He is a storm with direction. He is a man with gravity. And she is drawn in, fascinated by the force of him. 6 months later, he's a lapdog who needs permission to see his friends. A year later, he's apologizing for picking the wrong movie. 2 years in, he can't make a single decision without checking the manual. He no longer remembers his name before her. The formatting of his personality is complete. And the most tragic part, he genuinely believes this is a mature relationship. He confuses a suffocating chokehold of control with caring. He thinks this constant walking on a minefield waiting for her mood to shift is compromise. He believes that avoiding conflict means preserving peace. He tells himself, this is what love is supposed to feel like. But let me turn on the light. Every time she pushes your boundary and you retreat. Every time she uses emotional blackmail and you surrender. Every time she tests your strength and you break. You aren't keeping the peace. You are destroying her attraction to you. And you are burying her respect for you with your own hands. One compliant nod at a time. Because in her source code, deeper than social norms and trendy workshops, an instinct is hardwired. She needs someone who can withstand her storm. She needs someone stronger than her chaos. Someone whose sense of self does not bend when she pushes. Someone who remains unmoved. And every time you demonstrate that you are not him, that you can be broken, a piece of her attraction to you turns to dust. This crown I'm talking about isn't just a figure of speech. You can literally see it growing. It manifests in how she talks to you, in a tone she uses with no one else. Sharp, cold, dismissive. A tone with no fear of consequence because there are no consequences. In how her gaze slides right over you, never landing, as if you're just the hired help. A useful mechanism that pays the bills, runs the errands, and provides comfort. Not a man. A utility. And the heavier her crown becomes, the more you bend under its weight until you're nothing but a page at her feet. And at that moment, she becomes sick of you. Not the real you, but the weak, spineless creature you allowed her to make you. Here is the paradox that is destroying you. She tests you because she wants to find strength. But the testing itself destroys most men over time. It's a brutal game you are doomed to lose if you do not know how to respond. Women instinctively test men to make sure they are strong, that they are the rock to lean on. But the tests are endless. Subtle emotional storms, small provocations, moments of withdrawal, silent challenges hidden inside everyday conversations. And if each time you fold, slowly, drop by drop, the erosion begins. At first you don't notice, But months pass. Years pass. And all that's left is a hollow suit. A man who auto-nodded his identity out of existence. You have become safe, convenient, predictable, and completely sexless. And here is the finale of this play. She hates you for it. She hates that you became weak, even though it was her endless testing that made you that way. She despises you for failing the test, even though the test was never meant to be passed through compliance. She hates the creature she created because it reminds her of her own mistake. She chose the wrong one, and she knows it. She chose the wrong one, and she knows it. She may not admit it out loud. She may not even admit it to herself consciously. But her body knows. Her tone knows. Her silence knows. Her disinterest knows. Attraction does not lie. Attraction does not negotiate. Attraction does not care about history, effort, or promises. Attraction bows only to strength. You know what happens when you wear tight, uncomfortable shoes for too long? At some point, you stop noticing the sharp pain. You stop reacting to it. Your body simply adapts to the discomfort. The pain becomes background noise. Something you live with because you've forgotten the feeling of being pain-free. The same thing happens in relationships. Men get so submerged in these manipulations, emotional roller coasters, and daily dramas that they start to consider it normal. They mistake their personal hell for a standard marriage. They convince themselves that everyone lives like this. Everyone is miserable. Everyone is exhausted. Everyone is frustrated. Everyone is walking on eggshells. They look at smiling couples on social media and console themselves. It's all fake. Behind closed doors, they're probably just like us. Lie. A comfortable lie. The kind you stroke like a pet so it will keep you warm inside your cage. Because the truth is this. Some men have cracked the code. Some men have found the off switch. Some men have learned how to reverse the dynamic. Some men have learned how to reclaim the throne that should never have been surrendered. There are words. Simple words, not yelled, not screamed, not emotional, spoken calmly, spoken slowly, spoken like a man who fears nothing. Words that stop the cycle. Words that freeze the storm. Words that remind her and you who you really are. 3 phrases that shatter her crown. The first and perhaps most powerful move is the phrase, "You're predictable." Understand something. This is not just a sentence. This is a demolition charge placed at the very foundation of her identity, because her entire sense of self, socially, sexually, emotionally, is based on the belief that she is unique. She is special. She is not like the others. She is the exception. She is different. When you say calmly without emotion, "You know, I really thought you were different, but I see now you behave exactly like all the others. The same games, the same patterns, the same manipulations. You're completely predictable." You are not insulting her. You are revealing her. You are removing the crown she placed on her own head. The crown made of "I am special," and you must say it without anger. Because anger means you are emotionally affected, which means she still has power. No, you say it like you're commenting on the weather. Women do not fear insults. They fear irrelevance. I witnessed a scene outside a restaurant. A couple arguing. She was screaming, hysterical, demanding recognition of how special she was. Her boyfriend, without raising his voice, simply said, "Special? You are literally saying the same phrases my ex used. Word for word. Do you all share a manual?" She froze. Not silence from shock. Silence from system shutdown. Something inside her ego collapsed. Her script failed. She lost her place in the play. Because for the first time, someone did not dance to her emotional tempo. When you say a woman is predictable, you are telling her, you are not mysterious. You are not exceptional. You are a rerun. And nothing is more intolerable to the female ego than being ordinary. But this leads to the second strike. One that cuts even deeper. The second move is complete indifference to her leaving. Not pretend indifference, not strategic silence. Real indifference. The kind that is felt in your eyes, your breathing, your posture. She threatens to leave. You do not negotiate. You simply say, "If that's what you want, go ahead." Or even more lethal, "I'll hold the door for you." She says, "I need space to think." You answer, "Take all the time you need. I've actually been planning some things myself." She mentions another man. You shrug, then talk to him. You have to understand this. Every emotional threat she makes is built on the assumption that you fear losing her. Your fear is the fuel. Remove the fuel, the fire dies. If you do not fear losing her, the entire power dynamic collapses instantly. The throne disappears. The crown falls to the floor. A friend of mine heard the classic manipulation. I think we should live apart for a while. She expected begging, validation, desperation, proof she was irreplaceable. He simply said, "Perfect. I've been thinking the same. Thank you for making it easier." She broke. Right there. Not physically, psychologically. The test she thought would confirm her power confirmed her irrelevance instead. But the third phrase is nuclear. "You're average in bed." Not shouted, not used to hurt. Said casually. Said with emotional distance. Said like a man describing something that simply is. Because a woman's deepest sense of power is in her sexuality. She believes that what she offers is irreplaceable, divine, transformative, that this is her ultimate leverage. When you reveal that it isn't, her reality shatters, not because of the words, but because you spoke them without fear. The moment she realizes you do not need her body, you become the strongest man she has ever encountered, because you are no longer a prisoner of desire. You are no longer controlled by longing. You are no longer moved by approval. You are free. And the man who is free is the man she cannot dominate. And the man who is free is the man she cannot dominate. This is where everything shifts, because the moment you are no longer controlled by the fear of losing her, your entire presence changes. Your voice changes. Your posture changes. Your breathing slows. Your eyes settle. You become calm in a way that is impossible to fake. And women can sense it, not through logic, not through conversation, but through instinct. The same instinct they used hundreds of thousands of years ago to select a mate who could keep them alive in a hostile world. She does not respond to your words. She responds to your center. You must understand something. When a woman tests you, she is not trying to break you. She is trying to find the place where you cannot be broken. She is searching for the steel in you, the core, the pillar, the unmovable part of you that no mood, no argument, no emotional storm can take away. She does not want to lead. She does not want to dominate. She does not want to be the emotional general. She wants to trust, to surrender, to rest. But she can only rest in the presence of strength. And most men do not understand this. So when the tests come, they defend, they explain, they justify, they argue, they negotiate, they try to win through logic. And that is the exact moment they lose everything. Because the moment you defend yourself, you place her judgment above your self-definition. The moment you justify yourself, you prove you see her as authority. The moment you explain yourself, you admit doubt in your own identity. That is why we use the agreement method. It is the single most psychologically disarming response to manipulation that exists. It is simple. It is clean. It is brutal. Because it breaks the script. She says something meant to provoke you, to get a reaction, to force you into defending your worth. For example, maybe I should find someone who appreciates me. The weak man says, No, I appreciate you. I love you. Don't go. You mean everything. And in that moment, she feels nothing. Because she already knew he would say that. It was predictable, expected, scripted. But the strong man says, You're right. Maybe you should. She is not prepared for that. There is no script for that. The emotional weapon she aimed at your chest just misfired in her own hands. She says, You're not a real man. Most men defend. They puff their chest. They argue. They yell. They try to prove manhood through emotional reaction. But a strong man simply nods. You're right. A weak man would argue about it. I won't. The room goes silent. Why? Because you just removed the battleground. You did not fight. You dissolved the war. When you agree instead of resisting, you show her something terrifying and magnetic. Your identity does not require her approval. And that is when her tests stop feeling like control and start transforming into respect. The agreement method does not humiliate her. It humbles her. It brings her ego back to ground level. It resets the power dynamic without aggression. And it does something even more important. It shows her she is not stronger than you. Not physically, not emotionally, not psychologically. She is relieved. Because now she can relax. Now she can breathe. Now She is no longer the captain forced to steer the ship alone while resenting the man who should have held the wheel. But the transformation is not complete yet. There is something deeper, something far more devastating, something that does not just lower her crown, but removes the entire throne. And that is what happens when you do not chase her after she leaves. This is where most men break. This is where the fear hits hardest. This is where the self-abandonment begins. She leaves expecting you to crumble. She leaves expecting you to beg. She leaves expecting you to spiral. She leaves expecting you to prove your dependence. Because in her mind, she is the sun. Your world orbits her. Your meaning comes from her attention. So when she steps away, she imagines your world collapsing. But instead, your world expands. Your life improves. Your energy returns. Your ambition reignites. Your voice restores. Your presence sharpens. You start lifting again, working again, laughing again, living again. This is when she realizes the most terrifying truth a woman can ever face. She was not the source of your joy. She was the cage preventing it. And that realization does not merely bruise the ego, it shatters the foundation of her self-perception. Because if you flourish without her, then she was never the prize. You were. This triggers what psychologists call narcissistic collapse, but in feminine form, an existential crisis, a crisis of identity, a crisis of value, a crisis of importance. She thought she was the painter, but she was just the frame, and now she must return. Not because she loves you, but because she needs to restore her sense of self. She needs proof that she still matters. She needs reassurance that she still has power. She will text, "I've been thinking about you." She will call, "Can we talk?" She will appear, "I just happen to be in the area." Do not mistake this for love. It is control trying to reattach itself. And if you open the door without certainty, without strength, without standards, you will fall again. But if you open that door with calm indifference, the throne is gone forever, because now she knows. You do not need her. You choose her or you don't. And choice is where power lives. And choice is where power lives. This is the part most men never reach. Because to reach it, you have to pass through the valley of withdrawal. The withdrawal from emotional dependency. The withdrawal from validation addiction. The withdrawal from the subtle but powerful belief that your worth is defined by whether she wants you. Most men never get past that. They will do anything to avoid the discomfort of being alone with themselves. They will give up their boundaries, their dignity, their voice, their identity, just to avoid the silence that comes when she is no longer there to react to. Because when she leaves, the world becomes quiet. Too quiet for most men. Quiet enough to hear the truth. And the truth is this: you were not afraid of losing her. You were afraid of facing yourself. The empty room, the stillness, the mirror without distraction, that is what men run from. But when you endure that silence, something begins to grow, slowly but undeniably. Not confidence, not bravado, not arrogance. Something older, something heavier, something unbending. Presence. Presence is not loud. Presence does not try. Presence does not perform. Presence simply is. It is the awareness that you exist independent of approval, independent of validation, independent of being chosen. When a man stops needing to be chosen, he becomes the chooser. And that is the moment the entire dynamic shifts. This is the moment she feels something she hasn't felt in a long time, maybe ever. A pull, a gravitational force. Not because you are distant, not because you are cold, not because you are punishing her, but because you have returned to yourself. Because the man she first felt drawn to, the man who had direction, identity, purpose, center, is back. She did not fall in love with the man who bowed. She did not fall in love with the man who apologized for existing. She did not fall in love with the man who needed permission to breathe. She fell in love with the man who did not need her. And that is the truth women never say. A woman falls in love when she realizes you are not afraid to be alone. Not pretend independence. Not strategic detachment. Real freedom. The freedom of, if you stay, good. If you leave, also good. My life does not shrink either way. This is the most powerful emotional position a man can hold. Not dominance, not control, not manipulation, simply non-neediness. When a man is truly non-needy, he speaks slower. He moves with intention. His eyes stay steady. His breathing is calm. His decisions come from clarity, not fear. This is the man whose presence can silence a room without raising his voice. Because the man who does not need anything cannot be controlled by anything. And this is when something unexpected happens inside her. The tests stop, not because she suddenly becomes gentle, not because she becomes enlightened, not because she learns a lesson. The tests stop because the outcome of every test has already been revealed. She now knows you cannot be moved from your center, not by her anger, not by her silence, not by her tears, not by her threats, not by her affection, not by her beauty, because your center is not located inside her. Your center is located inside you. This is what allows a man to love a woman without losing himself, without submission, without self-erasure, without emotional servitude. You do not close your heart. You do not harden. You do not turn cold. You simply remain unmoved. She cries, you stand. She yells, you stand. She withdraws, you stand. She loves a you stand. Not rigid, not aggressive, not defensive, just present. You become the mountain, and a mountain does not chase storms. It does not fear storms. It does not react to storms. It simply remains. This is the paradox women never say aloud. She will only give her softness to a man who does not collapse under her storms. She does not want to be the storm forever. She wants to rest. She wants to exhale. She wants to lean. She wants to feel small in the arms of something vast, not physically small, spiritually small. She wants to feel held by something she cannot shake. And the only way she can feel that is if you stop making her the center of your universe, because she was never meant to be the sun. She was meant to orbit your purpose, not become it. When a man forgets his purpose, he becomes hollow. When he becomes hollow, he tries to fill the emptiness with her. When he tries to fill the emptiness with her, she suffocates. She does not want to be your oxygen. She wants to breathe with you, not for you. But when you return to your purpose, your vision, your mission, your becoming, she no longer feels the pressure to be your world. She can finally be your woman. Not your owner, not your jailer, not your emotional parent, not your judge, not your constant evaluator, just your woman. This is what she has wanted all along. Not dominance, not control. A man who stands, not a man who threatens, not a man who performs strength, not a man who acts cold as a tactic, not a man who pretends not to care, but a man whose center is rooted, so deeply rooted, that no storm can pull him out of himself. This is the moment everything changes. Not slowly, not gradually, instantly, because the greatest fear a woman has is not that you will leave. It is that you will stay, but you will stop needing her. Understand this clearly. When you stop needing her emotionally, she does not feel abandoned. She feels safe because she finally understands she does not have to hold the relationship together. She does not have to manage your emotions. She does not have to test your stability. She does not have to constantly check whether you will collapse under pressure. She can relax. She can soften. She can return to her feminine instinct, not the loud one that fights, not the defensive one that controls, not the guarded one that tests, the soft one, the gentle one, the deeply receptive one. That version of her only appears when your strength is no longer theoretical, when she feels it, not from your words, not from your arguments, not from posturing, from your indifference to loss. Because when a woman sees that your love is real, but your identity does not depend on her, she finally feels what she has been longing for, a man she can trust. Trust is not built by affection. Trust is not built by promises. Trust is built by how you behave when she tests your boundaries, when she pushes and you do not flinch, when she withdraws and you remain steady, when she threatens to leave and you do not chase, when she lashes out and you stay grounded, not reactive. Not cold, not distant, not spiteful, just unmoved. This is what causes her to feel something deeper than attraction. Respect. Attraction without respect is lust. Respect without attraction is obligation. But when both exist, she falls, not emotionally, primally. Her tone changes. Her eyes soften. Her body leans toward you without thinking. Her voice loses its sharp edges. Her storm dissolves, because the throne she built in your absence no longer has a place to stand. The moment she realizes, you no longer fear losing her. The dynamic is reborn. She sees you again. Not the version of you she molded. Not the version of you she tested into collapse. Not the version of you who bowed. But the man from the beginning. The one with a spine. The one with direction. The one with fire behind his eyes. And something inside her wakes back up. The desire to follow. The desire to submit. The desire to surrender into something greater than herself. Not in weakness. In relief. Because she is finally safe. Safe to be feminine. Safe to be soft. Safe to stop being the general. Because she has a king again. But here is the truth most men run from. This transformation does not begin with her. It begins with you, not with what you say, not with what you demand, not with what you try to control. It begins with the moment. You stop being afraid of conflict, afraid of disappointment, afraid of being alone, afraid of losing her. The moment you realize you are not afraid of walking away because you are not walking away from yourself. You are walking back to yourself, and a man who has returned to himself does not chase, does not plead, does not negotiate for respect, does not trade his dignity for peace. He stands. He speaks when speech is needed. He is silent when silence is power. He loves without attachment. He gives without needing return. He walks away when respect is gone, without explanation, without performance, without hesitation, because the man she fears losing is not the man who worships her. It is the man who worships his mission, the man who has a life beyond her, a purpose bigger than her, a direction independent of her approval. When you live like that, you do not have to reclaim your throne. The throne returns to you on its own. And the final truth, she is not afraid you will leave. She is afraid you will stay, but no longer be afraid to lose her. She is not afraid of your anger. Anger can be steered, manipulated, or disarmed. She is afraid of your calm indifference. Indifference is the desert, where manipulation cannot grow. She is not afraid of your words. Words can be debated, twisted, argued. She is afraid of your truth. The truth that you are whole, with or without her. The only thing worse than being the man who says the words women fear is being the man who was too afraid to say them. If you are tired of walking on eggshells, if you are tired of being furniture, if you are tired of abandoning yourself just to be tolerated, stand up. Your life is waiting.